All right, we are live for another episode of the Responsible Bet Season 3. I believe this is episode 4? 4, yeah.
Yep.
As you can see, H&L Yosh is out today. Not sure what happened, but, hopefully he's doing well. So it's just me and Die Bets holding it down today. Anything you got to say, Dallon? Oh, quickly before we start, I just want to say that Dallon is an absolute genius, as promised. So I picked the Chiefs to win. I picked the Chiefs to cover the spread 5.5, and they outright lost. And we can get more into that, but God, I mean that was so self-inflicted by the Chiefs. I really felt like, so many things are saying they should have won that game. I only watched some of the game, but yeah, I was surprised at the outcome. But I guess, Dallon, you saw it coming. You're an absolute genius. So congrats.
Yeah, I mean we got bailed out by the refs for sure. I think on multiple occasions. So
yeah, that Chris Jones call. I mean, maybe he did say something bad, but just the fact that it happened and gave them like a chance to score is something that's kind of fluky.
There was a face mask on Patrick Mahomes when he was rolling out as well, or it was like hands to the face, right? Probably. It didn't get called. And then they had to kick the field goal, and the guy shanked it left.
Yeah, they're still rolling out with that scrub because what's his name?
And then they ran the fake field goal as well.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was watching that live. I was like, no way they just did this. I'm surprised. Honestly, like the Colts are so ready for it. I was impressed. I feel like no one does it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe both teams just knew that they didn't really trust the fucking kicker.
You're right. I totally forgot about that.
Because that guy has been trashed the past 2 weeks since Butker's been out. So.
Thinking about it like that just seems like a terrible decision, right? When the Colts are obviously thinking, okay, they high alert, and then they run it, and then obviously gets blown up. I mean, just if you're gonna go for it, just go for it with Mahomes. I don't know.
I think you got to go for the 3 there as well to put you up 7. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me. I guess you kind of ice the game if you get a touchdown there, but like it was like 30, like 35 or something. Like it wasn't even that far. I would say you just let the guy kick it. Like I know he's been shit, but
it was only 30.
Put you up 7, something like that. I don't think it was super long. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Colts were not moving the ball very well, were they?
Yeah.
Like one of their touchdowns was on the muff.
The muff, yeah.
Which was like
got it on like the 3-yard line.
Oh, 3 yard. It was even worse, a 3-yard line, and then yeah, that shit was crazy. Although I think the Chiefs just played awful, so Mahomes overrated per usual. It'll be interesting to see what you think about the Colts this week. But we'll get into that in a bit. Why don't we? Any other highlights from last week you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I absolutely just put up a stinker in college football last week, I will say.
Oh, really?
Just bad grades all around for me. But I think I picked it up in NFL. We went 6-3, hit the 2-unit Hammah time lock of the week as well with the Bengals. I mean,
God,
pretty easy money there.
Pick, man.
So, yeah, I mean, we pretty much went even this week, and I'll take it, considering how bad my Saturday went. So, yeah.
What was the other lock? The Seahawks and Falcons. I felt really good about that, and that was
great.
That was
an
over. Yeah.
Over. Yeah.
And I think the only other one that was big was the Chiefs pick. I really like the Jaguars there, although it was so iffy with Herbert not playing, and it didn't really matter. The Jaguars looking pretty studly. I guess we'll find out this week to see how real they are. Yeah, no, that's about it. I didn't bet any college games, although I did watch some good college games. All right, yeah. So let's dive into college this week. Any games in particular you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, the first game, I'm going to ignore the Thursday games because it's South Carolina State versus South Carolina. Spencer Rattler, that line is 40. I'm not even going to touch it because I'm just like, it's whatever. Utah State, BYU also on Thursday. I think that could be, an angle. I was looking at BYU minus 24 because Utah State is absolute trash, but
I know.
It does seem like a lot of points. So I'm going to stay away from that one. But the game that I was looking at on Friday is actually San Diego State. I know you're looking at a different game on Friday, so we'll be looking at that one after this. But looking at San Diego State plus 6.5 here against Boise State. Boise State, absolute dumpster fire. Just fired their OC. QB's transferring out. So
mid-season?
Yeah. He was fed up with the situation, apparently. So I'm not too confident looking at Boise State last week. They lost to UTEP. At UTEP, 27-10. They only put up 10 points against a UTEP team that was, not good. I mean, they barely beat New Mexico State. They lost to New Mexico 27-10. So, I don't think the UTEP team is particularly good, and the fact that Boise State lost to them by 17 points on the road is pretty sad. And sees how kind of shows us how far Boise State has fallen.
Well, tell me more about SDSU, because I know they've been good recently, but in years past,
so their offense isn't very dynamic this year, I will say. However, they do have a offense that can kind of lull you to sleep at times because they love chewing up the clock. Mm-hmm. And, that's the kind of offense that I like, especially against Boise State, which is a team that doesn't have a great offense as well. We should see a really low-scoring game here. The total set at 39.5, so that's pretty low for college football, I'd say. Some Iowa totals up in there.
What was the line again? 6.5, you said?
Yeah, 6.5 right now.
12,
I believe it.
39. Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty. Team totals looking like we're going under 20 for both, or around that. So, this is going to be a low-scoring game, I think, and I think getting 6.5 points here with San Diego State, especially down their quarterback and their OC, seems like a good spot for me. So that's my first pick on Friday. And let's see what you're rolling with. You got a pick for Friday as well.
So I got one pick this week, and it is the Huskies, 15th overall ranked Washington going into UCLA. I think Penix, or Penix, I should say, Penix has shown to be like a solid quarterback. He's making big time throws. I feel like I said this last week, but their defense is also actually has some players, and they're a team that always produces top tier talent. I mean, even look at last year, they had 2 first-round picks at the corner position, or Kyler Gordon was like 33rd overall, I think. So they always have talent on defense. They have they have an N who's good, and then obviously ZTF, who is a local Hawaii boy who is a projected, potential like first or second rounder. And UCLA, I don't think they've beat anyone yet, right? Like they haven't really been tested, and they're at home, but I mean, we've seen those crowds at UCLA. No one goes to their games. No one really cares about UCLA. Maybe they will show up for this Friday night game. Maybe they will. But even then, I don't feel like they have such a crazy home field advantage, other than the fact that it's UW's not at home. So
yeah, and
2.5 points. It's nothing. It's basically a pick 'em.
Yeah, and looking at their schedule upcoming, they got Washington at home this Friday. Yep. They got Utah at home next week Saturday. Yeah, and then they got to go to Oregon.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a tough 3 games in a row, and I think with UCLA's only Pac-12 game being against Colorado, which we know is god awful. They're one of the worst teams probably in college football right now.
Easily.
So they haven't played anybody good. Yep. So this is going to be their first real test, and I totally agree with you here. I think the offense and Penix and Talapapa both look very, very good, very solid players. So, I do like Washington here. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and even I think their system is pretty sick too. Like DeBoer is doing a bunch of interesting stuff with their scheme. All right, next one. Anything else on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I got a good amount of picks. Do you have any yourself, or?
No, rattle some off, and then I'm taking a look at some of these lines right now. I mean, there's some good games, yeah.
First game that I was looking at is Liberty, on the money line. They are playing against Old Dominion on the road. I do think Liberty is a great program. They've been quite good recently in the past few years. And, I think this is a team that can potentially beat an Old Dominion team that I'd say is relatively new They just joined the Sun Belt this year, so they're playing against a slightly higher, I'd say slightly different level of competition than they face in the Conference USA, I guess. And I think Liberty has just been dominating for the past few years, and I think it continues here. It's a pick-em, so Liberty's slightly favored here, so I'm going to take Liberty to start us off. And, I mean, this line originally opened -2. It's moved up to -3.5 now. So I snagged them on the money line when it was -2.
Gotcha.
So I would take up to a field goal's worth. So -3 seems like a good number for me as well. So if it ever drops down, it's a good buy there. So that's what I'm taking with my first pick.
Liberty.
You got any picks?
I've only heard bad things about Liberty.
Yeah, it's an interesting school. But sports is pretty decent. So,
you know, this Clemson game kind of jumps out at me.
okay.
I don't know about NC State here, and I just feel like Clemson's offense is much improved this year than years past. The DJ Wangogole is actually looking like a competent quarterback. And I'm just kind of selling on the NC State hype. I know they lost a close one to East Carolina, and then I just don't know. I just feel like Clemson can pull this off at home. 6.5.
All right. I mean, I don't hate it. I just I don't like DJ Wangogole. Yeah,
I mean, he was brutal last year.
Yeah, I don't think he's the answer. I mean, yeah, they pulled off the win at Wake Forest and OT. Like, it was great, everything like that. I do think NC State is actually pretty formidable this year. Their defense is pretty solid. And Dylan O'Leary's not the worst quarterback that you can put out there in the ACC. I think should be relatively evenly matched. So I don't know if I want to lay a touchdown on Clemson here. I do think they end up winning this game, though, but I could definitely see it being
at
by,
home.
Not being able to cover.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
So I guess next pick we're going into here is going to be East Carolina, -9.5. And let's see what that line's at now. So this game actually got canceled.
Wow.
And then they moved the location because of the hurricane. Because
Gotcha.
it was originally supposed to be at South Florida. I think they're playing at the Florida Atlantic Stadium now on Saturday.
East Carolina versus USF?
No. They're playing. Yeah. They're playing South Florida, but they're
Yeah.
playing at the FAU Stadium. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're rolling with East Carolina here. I think this team, they almost upset NC State first game of the year.
Yeah, they did. NC State.
I mean, and looking at it, I don't see a way in which this USF team kind of keeps up. They do have Baylor transfer Jerry Bohannon, whatever this guy's name is, but he hasn't really been good. He wasn't good at Baylor either, and that's why he's transferred to South Florida for his 5th year. And I think Colton Ahlers is actually developing as a quarterback. I watched him a bit last year, and he's just getting better, and I think this East Carolina team is getting better. They want to play for a bowl game this year, and I think it's very much so in reach. So I think it kind of starts here against South Florida. And, they lost their American Conference opener, and I can't see them going down 0-2. They lost the Navy at home. I mean, I think they go on the road, and they absolutely beat the brakes off of South Florida here. So that's going to be another pick. We're going with Iowa State as well. Me and Akahi talked about this one a little bit before the program started. Iowa State's going into Kansas. Kansas 4-0 this year. Football school now, apparently. They just came off a basketball championship as well. The sports are looking good, but, it just seems like a Kyle Yoshino trap game to me. Why is Kansas not favored in this game? Iowa State's going into Kansas, and they're laying 3 points. It's Iowa State -3 on the road in Kansas. I think that's a very interesting line. Seems like a Kyle Yoshino trap game to me. I feel like Kansas, if they were good, they would be favored
I think
here
Kansas still
by
is
at
getting
least 3.
respected, though. I mean, I think they should have been ranked after this week, to be honest.
It's definitely possible. I mean, they went into West Virginia and they beat West Virginia. Other than that, they haven't really had any super notable wins. Took care of business against Duke last week, and Duke isn't that great of a football team, I'd say. And, I think Iowa State can come in there and I guess not an upset because they're favored, but I do think that they should be the dog here. And it's weird that, sportsbooks are favoring or having them as the favorite here. So that's why I'm hopping on this one. We're taking Iowa State -3. And this line hasn't moved since its opening as well. So you can see that there is money being bought on Iowa State still and not just being slammed all on Kansas.
I mean, you're right. Kansas defense does look pretty suspect. I think Jalen Daniels has proven to be, or is looking to be pretty elite, and I think quarterback play obviously means so much at the college level. So I don't know. It's hard. I guess we'll find out. I mean, Iowa State. Who did they beat? Iowa.
They beat Iowa at Iowa. Iowa's not a good football team.
Yeah,
they
Iowa's
have great
trash.
defense though, but
they beat them 10-7.
They lost to Baylor last week.
Just lost to Baylor.
Yeah. But I think they bounce back this week, and that's why I'm going to take them.
Okay, so if they lose this week, are you done fading Kansas?
Yeah, probably. I mean, this would be a legitimate win for them, I'd say. So
True.
It seems like not a good idea to fade Kansas after that point, because this would be probably their biggest win in the past, I'd say, maybe 10 years. Who knows? I'd have to look into Kansas's history, but they've been absolutely shit, for the past 10 years.
They do have Oklahoma, Baylor, and Oklahoma State 3 games in a row coming up after. That's going to be tough. Might be a look-ahead spot as well for Kansas if they're looking forward to playing 3 of probably the 3 best teams in the conference. So, well, there's TCU in the middle, and TCU is actually not bad, right?
TCU is good too, as well.
So that's their next 4 games.
The Big 12 is, their Big 12 is pretty good this year. So we'll see if there's a letdown from Kansas or if they can continue rolling. But I'm going to take Iowa State.
All right, man. I think Jalen Daniels, is he draft eligible?
He's a sophomore, right? So
no.
And he took an extra year, so I think he should. Yeah.
But you probably won't.
I'm not sure.
He looks
probably won't be drafted. Honestly, he probably won't attempt. All right.
Oh God.
Next pick, you're gonna love this one. We're going Washington State -4 at home against California. All right.
I'm pretty sure I had Washington State last week. Oh no. Oh, they covered. They blew it. They should have won.
They blew it, and then they. Yep.
And that was
it was a roller coaster of emotions. Cody Nihei was texting me throughout that one. No, I was golfing, but Cody Nihei texted me. He was like, "Dude, I can't believe Washington State just blew this fucking cover." And then they backdoored him with like 3 seconds left. Absolutely crazy stuff. They deserve to cover that game though.
Too, but yeah, they did. Oh God, I thought they were playing. I didn't watch like the. I had to leave for like the last the end of the 4th quarter, so of course I missed it. But I thought they were playing well throughout the entire game. But I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I think Cam Ward is a decent quarterback. I mean, he's shown some flashes. Took down Wisconsin on the road, pretty impressive from him.
Coming into the game against Oregon, I was like, I was hearing the Cam Ward hype, and I hadn't really watched him. I've only seen highlights, and then I watched the game, and I was actually pretty unimpressed with him. But maybe it's just the offense. It was all like bubble screen passes, like quick slants. It didn't seem like they were pushing the ball downfield. Maybe it was his arm, and when he did throw, it didn't look. He was inaccurate a few times, but I mean, people are still high on him. People are still projecting him to be potentially a good NFL prospect, and also, he's been hyped already. So,
yeah. And I mean, I did take Cal last week against Arizona. They beat the brakes off of Arizona. I mean, it was close in the first half. I think the final score was 49-31. So they did end up covering -3. It was surprising to see them only -3 against Arizona, who's not a good team in my opinion. But they go into Washington State, and I think Washington State getting -4 here, seems like a good number for me, and I'm going to take it. especially because I think this
Washington. Wazoo?
Yeah, it's at Wazoo, and I do think this Wazoo team's just a better team. So,
Wow.
might be a trap line here, but we're gonna take Washington State -4.
I don't know much about Cal, but that seems like, I mean, that's basically saying that Cal is only 2.5 points worse than Oregon.
Yeah.
Oh no. I got that flipped. It's 10.5 points worse.
Well, Oregon was laying 6.5 last week. So yeah.
Right. I like that actually. I think Wazoo is actually a solid team.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can prove it this upcoming week, because I know they have probably a tougher schedule coming up. I have to look at it, but they do travel to USC after this, so yeah, hopefully they can get some momentum going. Yeah. So I have 3 more picks. We're gonna run through them real quick. Kentucky is gonna be my
Kentucky
plus 6.5 here. Yeah, we got some Will Levis action. They're going up against Ole Miss on the road. And I think Kentucky's defense is just really solid this year. They showed it against Florida. I'm not saying Anthony Richardson's a great quarterback at all. I was not impressed with him going into week 2. I mean, Yosh kind of discussed that one. And I was like, yeah, I don't think Florida is going to win. And they didn't. And Kentucky covered as well. So we're rolling with Kentucky again on the road as another road dog. And I'm going to expect the defense to hold up here. I think Ole Miss very explosive, obviously. Jackson Dart has looked decent, I'd say, transferring. He's the
quarterback at Ole Miss?
Yeah.
Oh, the USC quarterbacks just go everywhere, don't they?
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, we'll take Kentucky, more experienced team. Will Levis has been with Kentucky for, I think, 3 years now at the least. So, this team probably is also full of seniors as well. So I do think I'm going to take the more experienced team here over Jackson Dart, who didn't really impress me at USC. And I assume, after Caleb Williams got there, I assume that's why he transferred as well. But, yeah. And then I got one Hammah time lock of the week. We'll get into that at the end of the show. But the last college football game I'm going to be rolling with is going to be Buffalo on the money line. So Miami, Ohio is who they're playing. Miami, Ohio, I was singing their praises earlier in the year, but Brett Gabbert, Blaine Gabbert's brother, went out with an injury. He's going to be out for a while. So they're rolling with their backup quarterback here. And Buffalo, not a particularly good team, 1-3. Only win came last week at Eastern Michigan. They scored 50 points, though. So, I mean, this offense can score some points for sure. And, that's what MAC offenses are known for. But, I think with Miami, Ohio, rolling with their backup QB here, I'm just going to take Buffalo at home on the money line. Let's see. What has this line got up to now? Yeah, I mean, it opened as a PK, and now it's at Buffalo -1.5. So we'll be we're on the money here with Buffalo. So that's what I'll be rolling with as my last pick, and then I got one more college football pick at the end of the show. So
all right, love it. Okay, let's jump into the NFL, starting with Thursday Night Football. We have the Dolphins at the Bengals, and I believe right now the line is at Bengals -4. Yeah, I actually do have a pick here, and that is the Dolphins. Surprise!
No surprise.
So I think a lot of people are going to come in here saying the Dolphins just came off a hard-fought win. They're exhausted, they're tired against the Bills last week, which I guess is somewhat true. But the thing is, both teams played on Sunday. They're both going to be on short rest. I think the Dolphins have a better quarterback head coach pairing. I think Mike McDaniel has, already been better than what's his name? Zach Taylor has been throughout his career. I think we've seen that already. And I think the weapons, I think the offense is just going to overpower the Bengals defense. And I think the Dolphins again have good enough playmakers on their defense to get after Joe Burrow and limit the receivers as best as possible. And I think beating the brakes off the Jets really doesn't mean anything in the Jets' current state. So I don't know. I think the Dolphins are better and they're getting 4 points. Yeah. They're not playing
All
like the
right.
Bills defense, even though the Bills defense were a little banged up. I think, yeah, it's a good bounce
All
back
right.
week for the Dolphins offense. Let me hear.
No
Let me
real
hear your
surprise there.
Bengals -4.
No real surprise there that you took that one. It's definitely something that I expected, especially with your Tua for MVP campaign.
It's
I mean,
looking pretty good.
I just want to say it did open at -1, and it's been bought up to -4. Like
Wow.
that is insane. So it's very hard for me to take the Dolphins here when there's so much money on the Bengals. But I'm rolling with a different pick here. I'm rolling with the under.
Ooh.
I think this could be an interesting one. The Dolphins are extremely banged up. I
I
know you
think
saw,
that. So I might be
you know,
missing something there then. I didn't think any of their key players, and key player to me is like Tua, Waddle, Hill, Teron. I thought they're all playing, and then maybe some of their defensive guys. But I heard like X is playing, right? I don't know.
yeah, I mean, they should be playing, I think. So Teron Armstead didn't practice the past 3 days, including
Mm-hmm.
today. He's questionable for tomorrow. Xavier Howard, like you mentioned, limited in practice both today and yesterday. So he's questionable as well. And then, Tua, Jalen Waddle as well. They were both limited in practice yesterday and today. Questionable as well. They're definitely going to play. I'd say it's a big game for them. But just the fact that they're banged up, Tua, like that hit that he took, and then he was wobbling when he was
That was
getting up, and they
insane.
let him
Yeah.
back in the game after that. Like that was crazy to me. Like they emphasized player safety, and then they let Tua come back in the game. I guess he must have passed all of his tests, but like
I mean, he
I
must have, right? Like, it's too bad
yeah
of a look for both the team and like the NFL to let that happen. And they have like a third
yeah
party person doing it. And I feel like he's done press conferences this week where he's looked like if it was as bad as it looked, he would not be like, I don't know. I feel like he's handled himself well. I don't know how well he can fake it, but he's probably fine. My guess, just
yeah.
with the way things
I
are
mean,
going.
I assume he's probably fine as well, but I mean, there's always that shadow of doubt in my mind.
Oh yeah,
So
that was gnarly.
at that, and maybe Waddle's not going to be as explosive as he was. It is a
It's a
groin
rib
issue,
injury. Oh, it's a
so
groin.
no, it's a groin issue.
Oh
Could affect
yo.
his running a little bit. Um, yeah, I mean Xavier Howard has a groin issue as well, so maybe that might affect him. But I like the under here just because I think both teams are a little bit banged up. It's a short week. We might not see explosive scoring, so I'm taking under 47. And that's my pick for Thursday. I didn't want to take a side because I liked Bengals when it was -1, but because it's been bought up to -4, I'm just not touching it
That's
anymore.
a big jump.
Yeah.
We've seen the Dolphins rally too from mine. All right, let's move on. Okay, so the first Sunday morning game we have will be
Yep.
the Vikings at the Saints playing in London, which is cool.
Yeah. That's really
Saints
cool.
Vikings are so it's a home game for the Saints. The Vikings obviously they're not at home. Vikings are um, laying 2.5. What do you
You
got?
got anything for this one? You can
I,
start us off.
I actually do. I have the Vikings here, but see the question mark here, and I don't know. I haven't been keeping up to date. Is if Jameis plays? I think if Jameis does not play, I know he didn't practice today. I believe, and so if Jameis doesn't play, then yeah, I don't know if this line is gonna move or not, but I don't think it should stay. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Vikings are just I think the Saints are just so uninspiring right now. Like they don't do anything well. Like their defense has been sus. Their offense has been suspect. Obviously, with Jameis back there, they haven't been able to. Their offensive line has played pretty poorly. They have not been able to get the running game going. Jameis is kind of hucking. And one thing that I liked last week from the Vikings was that when they completely tried to shut down Justin Jefferson, they were able to rally. They were not able to do that against the Eagles, and that was a complete collapse by Kirk, in my opinion. But when they were able to, focus everything on Jay Jet, Kirk was able to make things happen, and they came back and won that game. Yeah, I think they're just a better team, and right now at 2.5, I'd take them in a neutral environment, right? So it's not even at the Metrodome or anything, or not the Metrodome, What's it called?
Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
That's what the
Wait, what are you
new
talking
stadium
about?
is called.
Oh, you're talking
The
the
Superdome.
Superdome.
They're not at the Superdome. They're at a neutral
I thought you were
location.
talking about. Yeah, I thought you were talking
Taunton.
about the current venue. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where
so
they're.
it's basically 2.5 is in a neutral stadium. I mean, I give me the Vikings there. I think they're the better team. So
Yep. Uh, we're exactly aligned on this one. I'm taking the Vikings -2.5 as well. Hopefully, I'm in Hawaii. It's at 3:30 for me. I'm not going to wake up and watch this game. So hopefully I get a wake and little cash, in my pocket.
there you
So
go. Love that.
yeah, Vikings -2.5. Dalvin Cook's day to day. I think he probably should play. It's going to be a big game for them. And
And even if he doesn't
we've
play, I
seen
don't
the.
think it really matters, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Alexander Madison is definitely a serviceable backup. I think he's actually one of the better backups in the league.
Yeah, he'll be
I'd
fine.
say.
They'll be fine.
So
Definitely.
it shouldn't be too much of a difference. And, another thing is we've seen the polar difference between primetime Kirk Cousins and 7 a.m. or earlier Kirk Cousins in the NFL. So, he's been absolutely stellar, in morning games. And I don't think that changes. I think Kirk Cousins is the better quarterback right now. Jameis hasn't really inspired me in the first 3 games as well. I know he was banged up a little bit, but yeah,
He's
I
still
just think
banged up.
Kirk's a better player. Yeah. I think Kirk's a better player. I think the Vikings are a better team as a unit, like you said. So I'm rolling with the Vikings -2.5 as well.
Is that a trap line though? Because that seems obvious. That's a
I mean,
college
we'll see.
trap line right there. All right. Next, I'm jumping to the Browns of the Falcons.
Yep.
Cleveland is laying 1.5 here. Or under set at 48.5. Yeah, I actually have a pick on this one as well. Do you?
Okay, I'll go first then. I'll just say that, I don't have a pick on this one. Just because, I like the Falcons when it opened +3. Now it's Falcons +1.
Oh,
Basically a pick 'em. Not going to touch it. I don't feel confident in. I could just see Marcus absolutely having a stinker on this one, so I just not going to touch this one. What about you?
Yeah, actually, I'm thinking last week we were opposite sides of that Browns game, and you ended up being right. The Steelers are pretty pitiful. Yeah, I actually didn't pick a side. I picked the over 48.5. And I think for me it starts with both offenses being pretty sound. Like I think the Browns, have they scored under 20 points yet this year? Let me check. No, they've 26, 31, 29. Their offensive line is killing people. And Jacoby Brissett, God, honestly, that's what surprised me most of that game, Thursday night game, is Jacoby Brissett was balling, dude. He didn't just look serviceable. He looked good. And that I think that surprised me. So if he can keep that up, which against the Falcons defense that I think is, I mean, they're not good. And I think the Falcons offense is like by the end of the season, they're going to be like a top 10, top 12 offense. I think it could be close. I don't know. Just, I mean, maybe not in terms of like, I mean, just like in terms of like volume stats, because they'll get some garbage time because their defense is terrible. But yeah, no, I'm very impressed. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
I mean,
they have the weapons, right? Like Cordero Patterson is still good. Kyle Pitts and Drake London's good, and Kyle Pitts are both matchup nightmares. And Mariota doesn't really have to do that much because of the way that I think Arthur Smith has really schemed things for them. Like they're getting good looks without having to do too much, So
I agree. I think they have a sneaky good offense on both sides. I like the Browns as well, sneaky good offense,
yeah.
And the Falcon. I think they're being slightly undervalued by books, and that's why the totals. It opened at 46. It's moved up to 48. So I will say you are on the right side on this one. I'd say in terms of the money that's coming in. So yeah, I'm with you on the over here. I looked at it and I like that play as a lean for me as well. So I'm with you.
Yeah, I think the books are. I mean, I think the Falcons are just being underrated because of their expectations, and they might still be a terrible team, but I think their offense will definitely be the reason they're okay.
Yeah.
All right, next game: Commanders at Cowboys. Dallas is laying 3 points here. Do you have the over/under on hand?
Yes, we got 41.5 right now. Is over under.
41.5. Wow, that is low. Yeah, I didn't have a pick on this game. Did you?
Yep. Me neither. Not touching it. I do think Dallas is just gonna probably roll them.
I mean, I wonder what the
Michael
over
Parsons.
under like sack line is for Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Like 6? It's got to be like 6, which seems
I'd
absurdly
say
high,
Carson Wentz to throw over 1 or 0.5 interceptions is probably like minus 220.
Yeah.
Just because he's probably due for one in this game, and I think Michael Parsons is absolutely going to feast. So I don't want to touch it.
And DeMarcus Lawrence. Yeah. I'm not touching. And is Dak supposed to play this week?
If he does play, you might have to stick with Cooper Rush for now because he's led them to 2-0. So I mean, you can't really bench a guy that has played pretty damn well the past 2 weeks. I'd say
he's played serviceable.
Well, I mean, they're winning games.
That's true.
So.
That's true. I mean, I just think they're honestly their defense. I'm so jealous that they have Micah Parsons because God, he's so good, man. And their defense is killer. Like they don't have to do much to win.
He's so good. Yeah.
All right, next game on the slate. Let's see here. We have the Titans at the Colts is what I have up next here. Indianapolis is laying 3.5 at home. Over under set at, let me check. 42.5 is what it says here. Maybe that's not live. 42.5 we'll say. I don't have a pick. I kind of was thinking about making a pick. I think the line is honestly like right on. I think the Colts are slightly better and they're getting a field goal. So I don't really want to. I can see this game. I mean, these teams are pretty even, honestly. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a classic Colts letdown spot. I think we probably will find a way to lose this game, if I'm being honest. So I'm not going to touch it, even though I do want to bet the Colts -3. I'm just not going to emotionally invest and financially invest in this one.
So give me your take on their offense, because have they scored above 20?
Yeah, I mean, it's looked pretty bad, right? I think the defense played pretty well last week, that kind of showed. So the Titans haven't looked the best on offense, especially going into a Raiders matchup that, most expected would probably be a shootout just because, the Raiders don't have a very good defense either. Nothing about this game really inspires me. I don't think I would be watching it if I wasn't a Colts fan. So, I mean, I think the Colts offense, hopefully they'll find their footing a little bit. And I think Pittman being back this past week has helped. And I'm just waiting for JT to have an absolutely monster game. And, I mean, it could happen this week. So
yeah, we'll it's hard to get a read on the Titans because they get blown out by the Bills. But I think their defense is probably a little better than that. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's not the worst. It's probably middle of the pack defense in the NFL, honestly.
All right, the worst game of the week: Bears at Giants. Actually, no, just the Steelers. That's worse. Bears at Giants. One of these teams will be 3-1 by the end of the day. Giants are laying 3 points. I didn't have a pick on this. I think Justin Fields is terrible, and I think Daniel Jones is pretty bad too. So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. No, thank you on this one. I was looking at the over because I think Bears overs are slightly undervalued because they can sneakily put up some points. Justin Fields sucks, but Khalil Herbert looked really good last week and kind of carried them to an over against the Texans last week. But regardless, not touching this one just because Daniel Jones looks like absolute trash Monday. I mean,
over under set at 39.5. That's
39.5. Yeah.
I think both teams could score. That's interesting. I hate it. It's interesting.
I think it's an interesting angle, but it's definitely a lean for me. I'm not actually going to put an official play on this one. So, yeah.
And one of the more exciting matchups of the week is at 1 p.m. I guess people did not foresee this to be a good game, which makes sense. Jaguars at Eagles. 1 p.m. Eastern. Eagles are laying 6.5 at home. Over under set 46.5. This is an interesting game. I actually did have a pick on this, and now I'm looking at the over under. I kind of like that too, but
I have a pick as well.
I went Jaguars plus 6.5. I'm kind of riding the Jaguars right now. What are you, the opposite? Yeah, so the Eagles haven't scored in back-to-back second halves. I think their offense might be a little less dominant than people are thinking. They dropped like a 38 bomb against the Lions, and the Lions have been pretty bad on defense. Yeah, so I don't know what to make of that, but I just think the Eagles are a little less dynamic than people think on offense, and I think the Jaguars' defense is actually good. I think we'll see in this game, and this will be a true test. But you saw it last week. I mean, the Chargers got locked up. Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd are two young pieces who are doing a ton for them, and they actually have some decent corner play. Shaquille Griffin and Tyson Campbell are not bad. Yeah, they just have a bunch of feisty young guys, and I think they can keep up. And I think Doug Peterson is a good offensive coordinator, good head coach, and he's unlocked Trevor Lawrence so far this year, and I think that'll continue. And also put some respect in Christian Kirk because he's actually a decent weapon. So their weapons aren't actually as bad as everyone thought they would be. So yeah, this is a super interesting game. I'm taking Jaguars plus 6.5 because I think Eagles defense is overperforming their secondary particularly, but we'll find out.
All right. So yeah, as I said, I'm on the opposite. We're taking Eagles minus 6.5 here. I don't think they've faced a quarterback with the caliber of Jalen Hurts yet, and I'm all in on the Jalen Hurts train this year. I think he's an absolute stud, and the Eagles, as I said, the past 2 weeks, probably one of the best teams in football. Might even be top 2.
Well, let's rewind.
You
just said they didn't face a quarterback of the caliber of Jalen Hurts, and I think most would say Justin Herbert is better than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I think.
Although he was banged up, so if you qualify,
I think injured Justin Herbert, they can't really run, is different from a Jalen Hurts that's super explosive and can run. I don't think they faced. Let me rephrase. I think they haven't faced a super mobile quarterback that can also throw the football like Jalen Hurts can. And Philly has the weapons this year. That AJ Brown looking absolute. He's looking good. I mean, I can't lie. The running back committee. I wish they would unlock Miles Sanders a little bit more, but they're sticking with the committee. And I just think the Eagles are the better football team here. I think the Jags are being slightly overvalued just because they came off of back-to-back wins.
It is 6.5 points though. It's not like the Jaguars.
It's a lot of points.
Are getting 3 here, so.
Yeah. I can't deny that it's a lot of points, but listen, if this game had taken place week 1, the Eagles would be 10+ point favorites here. So I'm buying on the Eagles.
I think both have kind of much exceeded their expectations.
I think the Eagles were expected to be really good coming into this year.
That's fair. I think the biggest thing was Jalen Hurts' exceeded expectation. I mean, we saw him totally collapse last year against the Buccaneers in the playoffs, and he was not good. He was a garbage time gremlin. He was not good.
Well, the Eagles weren't good last year, so.
I mean, they made the playoffs.
Barely.
Yeah, this will be super interesting. I'm glad we're on opposite sides. Yeah, can't wait to watch. All right, I think the last game of the morning slate is.
There's a few more.
Oh, there's a few.
You were also missing Seahawks because they're probably at the top of your page.
Yeah, I skipped them. But let's talk about them right now. Seahawks at Lions. Lions are. The line has moved dramatically. I think that's in reaction to. So Lions are laying 4 at home. Over under at 48 is what it says here. So the line actually opened up, I think it's 6. So it's been bought down to 4. And I think the main reason is because the Lions are pretty banged up. I want to say that's the main reason. I don't know if anything inspired, any I don't think the Seahawks performance against the Falcons really did anything to inspire people, but.
I mean, D Swift's supposed to be probably not playing. He's questionable, but he's leaning to not playing. So
I don't think he's going to play. And Amon-Ra was the other big guy, and I think he is going to play. At least, that's what rumors are. And I mean, DeAndre Swift is important, but he's not 2 points important, in my opinion.
Well, listen, just tell him your pick right now, Kai. We all know what it is, so just tell him.
It's not the Seahawks. It's the over.
Surprising.
This is back-to-back weeks. I didn't pick the Seahawks last week either, and I think it's the same case. I think it's a good offense. The Lions have a good offense, and I think the Seahawks have a competent offense. If we're talking good, I think Lions could be top 10 and Seahawks could be, top half. And I think both defense are pretty bad. That's it. Seahawks defense has proven to be bad.
All right.
Sorry, I lost you for there for a sec. Seahawks defense has proven to be bad, and the Lions defense same. Like they haven't stopped anyone really. They stopped half of the Commanders, but I mean Carson Wentz was so bad in that first half. It's hard to make anything of it. So yeah, I think it's another like relatively easy over.
I love that. Well,
nothing's easy in this league, but yeah.
I'll tell you my pick. I'm on the Seahawks plus 4.5, baby. Let's go.
You're lying.
No, I actually am. I swear. We're taking the Seahawks plus 4.5 here. I think the D Swift news is kind of big. I mean, he's their most versatile back.
I think he's a lot better than Jamal.
Explosive. I think he was on pace for a extremely, extremely insane season. I mean, he still is if he plays this week. But I mean, missing 1 week is obviously going to hurt that case. But I think the Seahawks and the Lions, they're evenly matched, honestly, in my opinion. I mean, the Lions might have a slightly better offense, I'd say. But, I mean, the quarterback play is, like, pretty much the same. I think the Seahawks wide receivers are better, at least in my opinion. DK and Tyler Lockett is way better than, anybody. I mean, Amon-Ra is their best receiver, and then everybody else sucks, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Hawkinson's fine, but, like, I think Amon-Ra's the main guy. But regardless, I just think the Seahawks, getting 4.5, it opened at 6, and which was absurd to me. And it's moved down to 4 now. But I snagged them at 4.5. So I'm just rolling with the Seahawks here. It makes too much sense for me. So that's why I'm taking. I'm
gonna be at that game, so I will shout you out. Maybe I'll get on TV and I'll be like, oh, big dog, little dog, let's go. You know what? I actually should bet on the Seahawks because I'm gonna be at that game. So it's gonna be.
Love that. Seahawks and the over. They're gonna absolutely lay it on them. Let's go.
Okay. So I missed a few games. Let's jump to Chargers at Texans. Do you have anything there? I have nothing. Chargers are just completely brutalized with injuries. And there's no way I'm betting on Davis Mills. So
yeah, nothing for me.
Bills at Ravens. That's a big one.
It's gonna be a great game.
Ravens are. I actually do have a pick for that. Ravens are +3.
I have a pick too.
Over under 52. Why don't you start?
All right. Well, I got Bills -3. No surprise, backing the best team in the NFL. They're a little bit banged up, I will say, but I do think that they assert their dominance this week. I understand they didn't look the best last week, but Miami does Miami things in Miami. So,
true.
I mean, we're just gonna take the Bills. I'm backing on them. Just being a great team again. So we're taking Bills -3. Yeah.
That's funny because I have the Ravens +3 here. I think both teams are equally banged up. Obviously, the Bills were probably a better team healthy. But now it's like, I mean, the secondary for the Ravens is struggling. I don't know. Lamar's just playing. I hate to say it, but Lamar is like doing everything right now. He's doing everything for their team, and he is such an X factor that I don't think. I was thinking about the over here too because I was not thinking about the over here, but I think the Ravens are going to be able to keep up, score, and it's going to be a close one. And yeah, that's all I got. Give me the dogs at home with a very good quarterback.
I got one more play for a 7 a.m. game that you completely skipped over. So
you keep saying 7
a.m. Let's talk about that. Sorry, 10 a.m. game for you.
Do you wake up for those?
Yeah, I do.
That's what I did, but 7 a.m. is pretty hard, man. I don't know if you normally wake up at 7 a.m., but
not usually. So a little bit earlier for me, but I'm used to it. On the weekends, like to watch college football, I wake up at 6 a.m. too. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. All right. So we're talking about Jets Steelers because you glossed over that.
Jets Steelers, yeah. Sorry, the order got messed up. Jets at Steelers. I don't have a pick here.
Well, you're gonna love this one as well because I'm taking the Jets plus 3.5. Let's go.
The Zach Wilson-led Jets. The Zach Wilson first play of preseason, pick 6.
Is he gonna start this week?
So he was cleared. He was cleared. He's practicing, but he needs to get through practice. The classic, he needs to get through practice. So TBD. If he gets through practice, which I assume they expect him to, he is gonna play.
All right. Well,
so does that change I guess honestly, it shouldn't change the line, and I don't think it will because
nope, it will not. And
if anything,
it
might get worse for the Jets. Okay. What? So what? Is it just Mr. Trubisky is washed?
Just no rhyme or reason behind it. I mean, the Steelers are a little bit banged up on the front seven as well, so I think the Jets have been a pretty up and down team this year. I mean, they made that nice comeback against the Browns. They absolutely got smacked by the Bengals last week. Maybe it's a little roller coaster ride that we're on, and the Jets come out and they absolutely smack the Steelers at home. Who knows?
I think the Jets have been mostly terrible. They should have lost to the Browns, and they got blown out by the other two teams. But we'll find out. Steelers are pretty uninspiring too. Okay, the afternoon slate was boring. But we have Cardinals at Panthers. Panthers are laying 2 at home, over under at 43. Interesting game. I don't have a pick. I think both these teams are pretty bad. That's all I got.
Yeah, only 3 games on the afternoon slate as well. Yeah. Don't have a pick on this game as well. I do think the Panthers are probably going to win, but I won't bet it just because, that new COD came out, so maybe Kyler Murray is using his film time to play some more COD. So he might come out and he might absolutely suck this coming week. But if I had to lean anywhere, I'd lean the Panthers, but I'm just not going to touch it.
Neither am I. All right, Patriots at Packers. And so this is going to be the Patriots most likely without Mac Jones. I think it's like basically all assured that Mac Jones will not be playing. And Packers are laying 9.5 at home. Over under set at 40.5. Dallon, what do you got for this afternoon game?
I mean, I was originally looking at absolutely nothing here because I don't want to lay 9.5 points. So I'm not touching it. I mean, Brian Hoyer or Bailey Zappi. Who do you think is going to start? Probably Zappi, right?
I've heard it's Brian Hoyer.
Really? Okay. That also doesn't inspire confidence in me taking the Patriots. So, not touching this one at all. I think the over-under is maybe an angle to look at, but 40.5 seems pretty would make me want to take the over, but I'm just not going to touch it.
I read a few articles basically saying that the over has an edge here based on some models and whatnot, slight edge to the over. I would lean the over too. I just think I don't know. Brian Hoyer is not god awful, and maybe they get a few points. All right, I think the most interesting game, a super interesting line, Kyle Yoshino trap line. Broncos at Raiders. Raiders are laying 2.5. The 0-3 Raiders are laying 2.5 against the 2-1 Broncos. Over under set at 45.5. And this is so interesting because I honestly think the Broncos offense is terrible, but I think they're very talented as well though. I mean, just in terms of pedigree, right? Wilson has been good. Judy, Sutton are good, and their offensive line is actually really solid. So I think they're going to snap out of this funk and be, competent because they have not even been competent in all 3 games. And the Raiders, I'll be honest, I haven't watched much of the Raiders. Maybe you have, but the fact they're favored here is super surprising. I don't even understand.
I mean, I was going to take the Raiders here because it looked like a trap line, but I didn't touch that. I went with the total. I'm going to take over 46 with this one.
You're taking it?
Yeah. That's what I'm rolling with. I think Russell Wilson's due for a little positive regression. He looked like absolute shit the past 3 weeks. He has the talent, man. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon around him. 2 solid backs. Melvin Gordon's a little bit washed up, but Javonte Williams is good. You got a former Pro Bowl wide receiver substitute in Cortland Sutton, and
He's been doing well.
he's been doing well, yeah. And I don't. We're going to see the Russ of old. I think. We should let Russ cook a little bit, especially against a Raiders defense that has not been good in the past 10 years. So
yeah, Russ has not been great, but I don't even think it's all on Russ. Like it feels like I don't know what's going on, but they just can't. Maybe it's the play calling or the mix of it.
He had some really bad overthrows, I think.
Against the SF?
Yeah. And truthfully, the Broncos did not look too inspiring. But I think this game could be a shootout. So that's why I'm rolling with the over 45.5.
I like it. Yeah, the only thing for me on the over is that I think the Broncos defense is really good. And I'll keep saying it until they prove me wrong. They gave up 9 points last week. They gave up like 9 points to the Texans, and the Seahawks played one good half against them, and they still only gave up 17. I think top to bottom, like that defensive line to the secondary is pretty elite. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little harder to get points to the Raiders than you might expect. But yeah, we'll find out. This is a super interesting game.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, though, we can talk about how the Raiders' offense is actually really good talent-wise, right?
I agree. I've only seen things about Derek Carr holding them back, so maybe he'll snap out of it. Yeah,
I definitely don't think the Raiders want to go 0-4 to start the season. So they're probably. I hope they come out firing, and that's kind of what I'm betting on with the over here as well.
I guess it's accurate because if the Broncos were favored at all, like even just +1 or something, I would bet the Raiders here. Yeah, I guess they know. All right, last two games: Chiefs at Buccaneers, Sunday Night Football. It's from what I've heard, the game is still supposed to be played in Tampa Bay. I guess shout out to our Floridians out there. Hopefully they're doing well. But the hurricane kind of did miss Tampa, so it looks like it'll be at Tampa Bay. Buccaneers and basically a pick 'em. Buccaneers are getting 1 point. Over under set at 44.5. What do you think?
I'm on Bucs money line here. Yeah, I think it's a little bounce back week. They get Mike Evans back.
Any news on Godwin or Joe?
That's a good question about Godwin. I'm not too sure. I didn't see any news.
Because I remember we were on opposite sides last week, and the Bucs could not. They were really struggling on offense.
Yeah, so it looks like Godwin returned to practice today.
Ooh.
So that's great. And Julio Jones was limited as well, so they might be at full force this week, albeit a little bit injured, a little bit banged up. But
yeah. Just not having those three guys was so obviously bad for them last week, and I think having 2 out of those 3 guys back will make a huge difference, even for Tom.
This is a huge game, right? And it's going to be a great game too. And
I agree.
Brady doesn't want to lose to Mahomes. I will say he's too prideful for that. So I think the Bucs also have a.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the Bucs also have a better defense as well.
I think the Bucs defense is okay. I think there's
probably top 5.
There's
top
3 defenses who I'm sure are top 3, and there's probably 5 that I think are top. Actually, there's 5 defenses that are clear top 5, right? It's the Niners, the Buccaneers, the Bills, the Broncos. In my opinion, statistically they are right now. I think they will prove to stay there. And what is the last one?
I think the Packers are definitely
the Packers, yeah. So those 5 teams, and I think the Buccaneers are close to the top. Like they're elite. Last time they played, I remember Tyreek Hill just completely toasted them in the first half, and they still played well in the second half. But they don't have Tyreek Hill now, and teams are playing a lot of man against these Chiefs wide receivers. And if I think the Buccaneers cornerbacks and Levante David can handle the Chiefs. But I'm a Chiefs hater, so I might be biased.
And I think he can.
I don't know.
I think he can handle Travis Kelce as well.
I agree.
That linebacking core. So
I think you can put the corners man to man on the receivers and not give him any help, and then just double Kelce, and you'll be fine. All right, yeah. Rams.
So are you on Bucs as well?
I didn't have it as a pick, but
okay.
Maybe I should.
Okay. Love that.
I feel like I'm biased against the Chiefs, so I need to counter my bias. Because the Chiefs just always are good. And their defense is actually solid this year. I know they're not. I know it's very surprising, but they've played well in every game, and yeah, it's hard to pick against Mahomes. And the Buccaneers' offense has been pretty pitiful, even somewhat healthy. All right, Rams at 49ers, a classic NFC West matchup. I know our boy Kyle Yoshino would be not hammering the Niners, but I mean, when was the last time the Rams beat the Niners? Oh, I guess it was the NFC Championship game. Besides that, the 49ers have dominated the Rams. What's your pick? Niners are laying 2 at home, by the way, over under 42.
Yep, I'm on the Niners.
You probably on the Rams, don't I?
No, you're also on the Niners for sure. I'd say we're both aligned here, guys. Oh, okay, never mind. But yeah, I think we got a bounce back game, and like you said, the Niners have historically been quite good against the Rams in the regular season, at least recently. And I'm not saying Levi's Stadium is a huge home field advantage, but I mean it's still a home field advantage, right?
Yeah,
and
probably average. They're probably average.
And I think the Niners might surprise some people. It also surprises me because if the Rams were 3-0 going into this game, or this game was played week 1, I think the Rams would be favored as well. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, taking the Niners here. Nothing else behind that reasoning. I'll kick it to you.
Yeah, I don't even know what to think, dude. I guess it's the same offense as usual, but it feels like the Niners offense is worse this year. Jimmy was terrible. He looked like, even against the Seahawks when he came in, he was missing passes. I know he just came in that half, so it's hard to judge, but yeah, I don't know. So basically what I have on this game is Rams 49ers over 42. So this is my third over of the week. I think I agree. The 49ers offense will have a bounce back this week. And they'll be able to put up points against a gettable Rams defense. They have not been, lights out in a few years, I'd say. Even last year, I think their defense was gettable, at least during the regular season. And so I think it's going to be that, again, the 49ers are going to be able to score. And I think the Rams are also going to be able to, overcome 42. I think it'll be something like 24-21. And I got the over here, 42. No good reason other than I think that I think the Niners secondary hasn't really been tested, in my opinion. I don't think the Seahawks were able to hold up well enough to test their secondary, and I don't know what's up with the Broncos offense, so I'll go over here. All right. Any other comments on the week, or can we jump to the Hammah Time locks of the week?
Yeah, I mean, let's just jump straight to the Hammah Time locks of the week.
Let's do it.
You can go first if you want.
Yeah, so I kind of blew this because I said my lock of the week already, forgetting that I wrote it down as a lock of the week. I completely blew that. Sorry, team. But my lock of the week is actually Browns at Falcons over 48.5. I think that
love that line.
I don't need to repeat it, but good offenses, great offenses, I want to say, are close to, and not great defenses. And it's 48 points. Not impossible.
Yep. Just building on that, like I said, they're under both teams' offenses are slightly undervalued, so I think that's baked into the line a little bit, and we can definitely see this going over. So my lock of the week, we're going back to college football for this one, and I'm taking LSU minus 8.5 on the road. They're on the road at Auburn, minus 8.5 favored. Teams both 3-1. I don't want to say this is a Kyle Yoshino certified trap line, but it's certainly very close to a trap. I will say that this line did open at LSU minus 6, and it has since moved to minus 9 at this point.
Kelly,
so there's heavy money going in on LSU. That defense is actually very solid, and Auburn's quarterback play once again has not been inspiring.
Who's starting QB for the Tigers right now?
They just got a true freshman, Robbie Ashford, as their starting quarterback right now. So Yeah, I mean, I think a freshman quarterback going against an LSU defense that I actually think is pretty damn solid is recipe for disaster for me. And I think LSU should dominate this game, at least in
On
my
the road
opinion.
in Auburn.
On the road, at Auburn. This is an Auburn team that only beat San Jose State by 8 points, and they only scored 24 points.
State, man.
24-16. Chevin Cordero, former UH quarterback, starting for San Jose State this year.
For real.
And, this Auburn team only beat Missouri at home 17-14. Missouri has never been good in the SEC in the past, I want to say 10 years as well. Maybe since Drew Lock has been there. They weren't even that good when Drew Lock was there. But, yeah, I mean, this Auburn team is definitely in shambles right now, I'd say. They lost to Penn State on the road, or at home, actually, 41-12. So, I mean, this is a team that just can't really compete, I'd say, this year. And I think LSU should blow them out of the water.
I love that. I mean, we were 2-0 in our Hammah Time lock of the weeks last week, so let's do it again. I think the odds are in our favor. All right, I think that wraps it up for episode 4 of The Responsible Bet Season 3. I think we need to give a quick shout out to our boy Kyle Yoshino. I don't know who you would have picked today, but
yeah. I think he's moving right now, isn't he? Or something.
Oh,
saw something.
So I hope moving's going well. If you want to toss in your Hammah Time lock of the week, just follow Kyle on Twitter at HNLYosh. That could be wrong. Maybe it's at Kyle Ikaika.
It's at Kyle Ikaika on Twitter.
At Kyle Ikaika. Tune in for the lock of the week. Tune in next week. Actually, I won't be back, unfortunately, but you'll see who's there. Anything else?
No. Have fun at the Seahawks game. Hopefully the Seahawks absolutely dog walk them.
Thank you, sir.
Go Seahawks.
I love to hear that coming out of your mouth. Makes me happy. All right. See y'all.